Visiting relatives is all well and good, but decent people should be coming here to comfort you, not this leaving and begging for family nonsense."
Satya, the other maid in the room, nodded as she received Tanvi's wisdom and the white garment Tanvi had folded. It was a perfect square. As Tanvi grew upset, her folding became increasingly precise and perfect, until you could have cut onions with the razor-sharp corners of the sari silk. Pival had never liked Tanvi. Her husband Ram had employed the girl when they first married, presenting a child of 15 to his 20-year-old bride, before the maid had the chance to wipe the dust from her village off her shoes, before his bride's wedding henna had begun to fade. Pival wanted to keep her own maid, but Ram insisted that young Tanvi would be easier to train. At the time, Pival had accepted the new servant as an indulgence, one of the many Ram, then so generous, lavished on her. As Tanvi grew from Pival's maid into a kind of housekeeper, directing all the servants around her with an iron fist, she wondered if Ram had known even then that his wife would be lacking in authority, and had found a servant who could act as a substitute. That, too, she had seen as a kind of kindness, a thoughtfulness on Ram's part, making up for her deficits, anticipating her flaws. It wasn't until years later that Pival realized Ram didn't want a servant more loyal to Pival and her family than to him. He had built himself an ally who would turn against Pival when needed. Of course, Pival didn't allow herself to think such things about her husband until much later, after they'd had Rahi and lost him, before he lived and gave her life light and then darkened it again. The maids continued with their packing and dividing. Pival never knew she had so many clothes until she saw them pass through the hands of so many people. She could not help. She would not be permitted to do so. They would be silently furious with her if she tried, more angry than they were now even, and Tanvi would sigh and recite the wages they paid each woman, an unsubtle commentary meant to remind her that any labor she performed was a waste of her own money. Pival looked at Ram's photo in its permanent shrine, warping slightly under the weight of the faded marigold wreaths and lit by small lamps whose ghee was refilled daily. The combined scent of flowers and ghee made her feel slightly sick. Still, she liked the flickering lights, the cotton wicks, the way the fire swayed and gave things a golden glow. She was obligated, she knew, to treat Ram's picture as a sacred object, to give it offerings like she would an idol. He didn't deserve such a place in anyone's home. Perhaps that was what made her feel ill, and not the smell at all. Looking around, Pival realized that the maids had started unpacking the carefully sorted trunks and boxes. At her gasp, Satya looked up, her large eyes wide.
"It's bad business. Best not to do it. What will people say?"
Tanvi shook her head in agreement, clucking like a chicken.
"Going such places, begging old relatives to take you in? You will lower yourself, madam. What would Sir think? Who does such a thing? And what are you saying, either of you? How would you know what people do? Living in the same 10 streets all your life, what do you know about the tread of your shoes? Close your drooling mouths and pack my things."
Tanvi stared at Pival, her mouth wide in surprise. Satya had already begun to cry, her childish wails filling the air between them. Pival had shocked even herself. She was never so articulate in Bengali, and she never got angry. While Ram Sengupta might have raised his voice at the servants, Pival rarely spoke above a soft tone, making most people strain toward her when she talked. It was one of her husband's many criticisms of her. He had called with disdain her a little squeaky mouse. Pival had tried to speak louder. She had gone to a breathing seminar taught by a prestigious doctor turned guru to improve her lung capacity and diaphragm control. She had even seen a throat and larynx specialist, who informed her that what she lacked was not strength of voice, but strength of confidence.